Right now, a severe tropical cyclone is bearing down on one of the most economically critical stretches of coastline on Earth. Cyclone Mitchell, packing wind gusts of up to 195 kilometers per hour and generating waves over 8 meters high, is hours from slamming into Western Australia's Pilbara coast. Thousands of residents have been told it is too late to leave. Every major iron ore port in the region has shut down for the first time this season, and the global commodity market is already in free fall. Here is what we know, and how fast this escalated. On Wednesday, February 4th, the Bureau of Meteorology began tracking a disorganized tropical low drifting through the Indian Ocean off Australia's northwest coast. It looked unremarkable. By Thursday evening, it was strengthening faster than forecast models predicted, and the Bureau issued a tropical cyclone watch for the Pilbara. On Friday, around 6 p.m. local time, the Bureau formally named it Tropical Cyclone Mitchell, classifying it as Category 1 with sustained winds near 85 kilometers per hour and a central pressure around 994 hectopascals. That classification did not last long. Within hours, Mitchell jumped to Category 2, with sustained winds crossing 100 kilometers per hour and pressure dropping to 989 hectopascals. Then on Saturday evening, everything changed. Mitchell reached peak intensity. Severe Category 3 with sustained winds of 155 kilometers per hour and gusts to 220 kilometers per hour. Central pressure plunged to 968 hectopascals. From an unnamed tropical low to a severe cyclone in under 24 hours. That is textbook rapid intensification, and it triggered alarm from the Bureau of Meteorology all the way to global commodity trading desks. Late Saturday night, instrument stations across the Pilbara started recording the damage potential. Legendre Island measured a wind gust of 163 kilometers per hour. Varanus Island hit 135 kilometers per hour. Barrow Island reached 111 kilometers per hour. Even the Karratha Airport, the regional hub, registered gusts of 100 kilometers per hour. Rainfall had already begun piling up. Varanus Island recorded 92 millimeters. Karratha received 69 millimeters in 24 hours, and that was before landfall. Emergency authorities in Western Australia responded with the most serious broadcast alert the country has, the standard emergency warning signal, activated on every transmitter from Karratha to Onslow. The official instruction from Emergency WA was blunt. It is too late to leave. Seek shelter indoors immediately. There is a threat to lives and homes. Now let us look at exactly where this is happening, because geography is critical to understanding why this storm matters far beyond Australia. Karratha, the nearest major city with a population of around 22,000, sits roughly 1,530 kilometers north of Perth, along Western Australia's remote, sparsely populated northwest coast. The formal warning zone stretches from Roebourne in the northeast down to Cape Cuvier in the southwest, covering the towns of Karratha, Dampier, Wickham, Onslow, Exmouth, and the inland community of Panawanica. A cyclone watch extends even further south to Carnarvon and Denham. As of 2 p.m. local time on Sunday, the Bureau placed Mitchell's center 122 kilometers north-northeast of Learmonth, tracking southwest at roughly 20 kilometers per hour, with destructive winds extending 80 kilometers from the eye. The town that deserves closest attention is Exmouth. It sits on a narrow peninsula jutting into the Indian Ocean, with one road in and one road out. If highway flooding cuts that single route, the entire town and everyone in it could be completely isolated for days. Evacuation centers have opened at the Karratha Leisureplex, the Onslow Multi-Purpose Center, and the Shire of Exmouth Hall. In Karratha alone, authorities distributed 2,500 sandbags. Emergency services have warned that once winds reach gale force, they will not be able to respond to calls for help. But here is where this story goes global. The Pilbara is not just a remote stretch of the Australian outback. It is the engine room of the world's iron ore supply chain. Over 60% of the planet's seaborne iron ore moves through this single region. most of it through Port Hedland, which is the largest bulk export terminal on Earth. 3 major liquefied natural gas facilities also sit directly in Mitchell's path. The Northwest Shelf Plant near Karatha, Chevron's Wheatstone Complex near Onslow, and Chevron's Gorgon operation on Barrow Island. On Saturday evening, every major iron ore and liquefied natural gas port in the Pilbara shut down simultaneously. Port Hedland, Dampier, Cape Preston West, and Ashburton all ceased operations. BHP and Fortescue confirmed closures. The financial reaction was swift. Singapore iron ore futures dropped below $100 per ton, landing at $99.35 per ton. BHP shares fell 3.1% to $48.79 Australian. Fortescue dropped 1.2%. The ASX 200 index shed around 2% on Friday, wiping roughly 70 billion Australian dollars in value. Port Hedland has since reopened as Mitchell tracked further south and conditions eased there, but Dampier and the other southern ports remain closed. To put the scale in perspective, China alone receives 60 to 65% of Port Hedland's total throughput, with Japan, South Korea, and India taking much of the rest. Any multi-day disruption here does not just affect Australia, it ripples through steel production and energy supply chains across Asia. So why did Mitchell intensify so rapidly, and why does this keep happening in the Pilbara? The eastern Indian Ocean off northwest Australia has been running well above average sea surface temperatures this cyclone season. Tropical cyclones feed on warm ocean water. They require at least 26.5 degrees Celsius, and this season the waters were significantly warmer than that threshold. Combine that excess thermal energy with low wind shear in the upper atmosphere, and you get the ideal recipe for rapid intensification. The Pilbara coast itself is one of the most cyclone-exposed regions on Earth. Exmouth sits exposed on its peninsula. Karatha was purpose-built with cyclone-rated construction, but remains vulnerable to storm surge and flooding. And this is not a one-off event. Almost exactly 1 year ago, in February 2025, Cyclone Zelia struck nearly the same stretch of coastline as a Category 5, recording sustained winds of 215 kilometers per hour and causing $733 million in damage. For the Pilbara, this is the second consecutive February facing a severe cyclone, and the region holds another record that puts Mitchell in context. In 1996, Cyclone Olivia produced a 407 kilometers per hour wind gust on Barrow Island, which still stands as the fastest wind gust ever reliably recorded anywhere on the planet. This is where the most violent cyclones on Earth come to land. Here is what happens next, and this is where the Bureau of Meteorology is most concerned. Mitchell is forecast to make landfall near Exmouth and the Northwest Cape late Sunday evening local time, likely between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. on Monday, as a weakening but still dangerous Category 2 system with sustained winds around 110 kilometers per hour and gusts potentially reaching 170 kilometers per hour. The Bureau has warned of 100 to 200 millimeters or more of rainfall across the warning zone. In this arid terrain, the ground cannot absorb that volume, which means rapid runoff and severe flash flooding, particularly around Onslow and Exmouth through Sunday night and into Monday. Abnormally high tides and surge are expected along the coast between Wickham and Carnarvon, though the Bureau indicated the storm's deceleration may mean the worst surge passes before coinciding with peak tidal cycles. After crossing the coast, Mitchell is expected to weaken to Category 1 by Monday morning and degrade to a tropical low by Tuesday, but the danger does not end at landfall. Remnant moisture from the system could push flooding as far south as the Gascoyne region through midweek. Damage inspections and road assessments will not begin until winds drop below gale force. And if Dampier and the remaining ports stay closed into Monday, iron ore markets could react sharply when Asian trading opens. If you are in the warning zone right now, the guidance from Emergency Western Australia is clear. Do not attempt to leave. Stay indoors, sheltering away from windows and doors in the strongest part of your building. Listen to local ABC radio and monitor the Bureau of Meteorology and Emergency Western Australia websites for the latest updates. Evacuation centers remain open in Karatha, Onslow, and Exmouth. If road flooding occurs after the cyclone passes, do not drive through floodwater under any circumstances. We will continue tracking Cyclone Mitchell as it makes landfall. Stay safe.